I'm one of the girls who's one of the boys, enjoying the jokes and the smokes and the noise. You wanna go fishing? Well, hand me the reel. I'm majored in focus. Shut up and deal.
We used to put on plays in her garage and sell tickets to the neighbours.
I really started out kind of wanting to be a ballerina, so I took 10 years of classical ballet until I decided that I really wasn't wonderful enough at it. When I was a kid, I just used to be a little bored, so I had a very active fantasy life from the time I was very small, and I always just wanted to kind of make believe and make...
Make believe that you were out there on stage?
Yes, but also just make believe that life was exciting and interesting and lots of things going on that weren't really happening in real life.
Yeah. One of the funny things about, a lot of funny things about this book, one of them for me is the juxtaposition of your being seen for the balance of your career, most of your career, as a sex symbol. But the very first play you ever did as a kid, you played a boy.
I played the prince. Yes, I was 7 years old. Yeah. It was a play at the Old Globe Theater. Well, it was not the Old Globe itself, but they had a children's, you know, section of it. And the play that we were all doing was my first play at 7 years old, and it was called The Princess and the Caterpillar. And I ended up playing the prince. So I thought, the prince? Well, aren't I pretty enough to be the girl? You know, I was kind of a little rattled by that.
Do you remember your very, very first performance as a child? Your very first performance in front of people?
Oh, sure. I played a boy. I was 7 years old, and what else was I going to play? But you know, I played a boy, and I'd have my hair a little back and a little sort of ponytail, and I had sort of a Robin Hood outfit on. Yeah, and I played a boy. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, hat, boy.
Parents, did they encourage you?
Yes, I think so. I mean, they certainly didn't discourage me. I think it was always a question that they didn't take it too seriously, you know. And then when I finally went to Hollywood and I was struggling along there with my 2 children and I suddenly became a sex symbol, my father said to me, I told you you should have studied Shakespeare, you know. So what can you do?
So what does he think ultimately when his baby girl, who he's been trying to protect and to help assimilate into this culture, ends up being a bombshell?
Well,
in Hollywood, of all places.
Well, you know, I don't think he disliked that so awfully much.
Yeah.
Because for a woman to be considered a celebrated beauty is not exactly a bad thing. I think we have to say that in all reality. I mean, but he did think that I should have studied Shakespeare. Let's put it that way. Well, I came back from Europe, which is...
You can't be a sex symbol and read Shakespeare? That's not oxymoronic, is it?
Well, no, I said, but I think that by studying Shakespeare, I think that he expected maybe I was going to play, I don't know who. Yeah. I mean, I can't think who I would have played until I was a heck of a lot older. Yeah. But, you know, I don't know, Cleopatra or one of the great Shakespearean queens, perhaps I could have played. Yeah. Or maybe Rosalind, Have You As You Like It, but I don't, you know, that was his ambition for me. But the very first movie he ever took me to see was The Red Shoes, which was a classical ballet. And the other movie he took me after that, which would be my second film I ever saw in my whole life, was Hamlet. With Olivier, with Laurence Olivier. And so here I am, you know, and I'm about 6 1/2, and I'm in this theater, and I'm looking at this movie, and I am just totally blown away, and I don't understand one thing that is happening. I'm going, what is going on here? This story is kind of odd, you know, but I'm totally into it, you know. And it did actually, he did implant in me a kind of a kind of an interest in the classics. So, you know, I have to have done my share of studying Shakespeare and you know, making myself familiar with all of the classic works of the theater and the Greek theater. And even at 14, I actually did a little rendition of Medea at 14 years old. It was such a hoot, but I wanted to please my daddy, and I knew that he liked things that were classic and well, I guess, you know, he thought those were the best things. Yeah. The rest of it was just kind of, you know, I suppose you could say popular culture, but...
Oh, yeah, nothing wrong with that, though.
La Jolla High drama students asked Raquel if her parents backed her dreams to become an actress.
My mother was very encouraging, and my father was very encouraging, too, but also very critical. He didn't want me to... well, actually, quite frankly, even though they encouraged me, I don't think that they ever really thought that I was going to do anything with my career. They thought it was a nice little hobby, and then I'd drop it when I got out of high school.
Is this what you'd like to sort of go into, musical comedy?
I've been singing and dancing since I was about 7 years old. I sort of studied voice and dance and everything.
And I started dancing when I was about 7, too, in children's theater. Things like, we did musicals in San Diego. There was a children's theater where we did all these different musicals.
Thinking that I would go into the musical theater, but actually, in the end, it didn't happen that way because I came along in cinema when the torn T-shirt was in and the dancing and the comedy was out, so.
I studied classical ballet, and then I studied a little flamenco dancing and what we called then jazz or modern dance.
I hope you'll watch my April special with Bob Hope and Tom Jones.
Raquel. Starring Raquel Welch.
As far as you're concerned, I've been reading that you're interested now in singing and dancing. In fact, you're doing a television show with singing in it. Is that right?
Yes, I have made the television special already, and I think it will be seen on the BBC. I'm not sure.
Well, that's a dirty word around here at the moment, but we don't mind you saying that.
Well, I hope that it will be aired in the United Kingdom shortly.
And world, we've got it.
So I had that already for many years, and I have been traveling with a kind of a concert tour where I was singing and dancing. Estoy muy contenta de estar en Madrid, pero claro, porque yo tengo sangre latino.
My badass lover, till we are dancing in the sky. There's nothing like hustle and muscle when they bind.
Gracias, muchísimas gracias.
The following year, while in Europe filming L'Animal, opposite Jean-Paul Belmondo, Raquel fell in love with French screenwriter André Weinfeld. After a 3-year courtship, the two were wed on July 5th, 1980.
They really loved each other, and they really helped each other in their careers. He supported her in her being her, letting her not be as serious as she had been.
Together, the newlyweds produced an ABC network television special, From Raquel with Love, a lighthearted Valentine to New York City and the American musical theater.
What's not to be happy about? But it's good to be here. Here is just where I belong. It's my considered opinion that the place to be is the place I'm at, and I couldn't be more sincere. Oh, gee, but it's good to be swell, to be great, to be great time there. Because, well, actually, my husband and I get together and kind of wrote this special. And it was, you know, we decided that maybe instead of a variety format, we would sort of come up with a story.
You kind of want a musical fantasy
comedy.
type of thing.
A musical comedy, actually. And, you know, just a nice, thin plot running through. And, I mean, there's some really unexpected moments in it. Jimmy's in it. He's playing...
Mickey Rooney.
Mickey Rooney is in it. And there's a couple of unexpected moments in it. I'm running down Madison Avenue in one sequence with a straitjacket singing Don't Rain on My Parade.
I gotta fly once, I gotta try once, only can die once. Right, sir? Ooh, love is juicy, juicy, and you see, I got to have my bite, sir. Get ready for a love, 'cause I'm a comer. I simply got to march, my heart's a drummer. Nobody, nobody is gonna rain on my parade. I've simply got to march, my heart's a drummer. Don't bring around a cloud to rain on my parade. But whether on the rose of sheer perfection or freckle on the nose of life's complexion, the cinder or the shiny apple of its eye, I gotta fly once, I gotta try once, only can die once. Right, sir? Ooh, love is juicy, juicy, and you see, I got to have my bite, sir. Get ready for a love, 'cause I'm a comer. I simply got to march, my heart's a drummer. Nobody, nobody is gonna rain on my parade.
You do this on the street? You do this on the street? See, in New York, if you did that in Hollywood, you ran down Sunset Boulevard in a straitjacket, nobody would pay any attention.
Well, this is true, although it was the first time I was in New York City, and I really felt that I was sort of dressed for the occasion, because... No, I don't. No, seriously, I love New York. I think it's great. In fact, that's why that's one of the reasons that I got the idea, is because I'm always hunting for an apartment there the last minute when I go there, because I say, no, I really can't go back to L.A. I mean, I have a house here and everything, but there's something exciting about New York. So I thought it'd be kind of a madcap idea to find out what would happen in a 24-hour period if this sort of archetypical cliche movie actress sort of escaped her crazy press agent, who's played by Jimmy Coco, and tried to find the quintessential penthouse apartment overlooking the skyline of Manhattan. And
We found it, but it was a fantasy, man.
Well, kind of, yeah. You saw it.
You know what a penthouse apartment would cost you in New York City now?
Yeah.
She was going to do a special called From New York with Love, Raquel, and the guest on that was going to be Mickey Rooney. And it was a book musical in which she is looking for an apartment in New York, and she has an angel, it's way before Touched by an Angel, in Mickey Rooney. So when she gets in trouble, the angel, the taxi driver, always arrives. And she had many musical numbers to do in it, and really singing and dancing, and she'd come off nightclub circuit doing singing and dancing. So in this one, people were rather surprised that she sang and danced so well.
When she reached her 40s, the number of film roles predictably declined, and she turned to Broadway to breathe life into her career.
You make your home out here, though, don't you?
Yes, I do, yeah. I would sure love to have an apartment in New York, though. You know, it's electric.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's when an unexpected opportunity came along, an opportunity with some risk attached.
And then, of course, I'd meet up with Raquel later for Woman of the Year on Broadway, when we're having a meeting on who should replace Betty McCall when she went on vacation. And I said, what about Raquel Welch? 7 producers immediately. Can she sing or dance? I said, Ken Bacall. Raquel came in, and I put her into that show.
What she did was accept an offer to appear in the New York theater. First as a 2-week vacation replacement for Lauren Bacall in Woman of the Year, then as Bacall's permanent replacement.
This summer, Lauren Bacall was replaced by Raquel Welch in the star role in the Broadway play Woman of the Year. There's nothing unusual about that, one star following another in a long-run play. But for Raquel Welch, the part represents a kind of fulfillment, a vindication of her insistence that she is capable of something better and more demanding than the sex symbol roles that she's played for the past 18 years in Hollywood. Well, here with the story of Raquel Welch's struggle to be taken seriously is Bob Brown. Bob?
You Americans have always been infatuated by sex symbols, but Raquel Welch has complained for years about the problems created by her image. Well, earlier this summer, Raquel, who'll be 42 next month, was working hard in a New York City rehearsal room on a different kind of image as a Broadway leading lady in Woman of the Year. I met her for the first time then, nearly 20 years and one bygone image ago, for me.
2, 3, 4, 5.
With her film career in jeopardy, she took a job in 1982 that some thought she could never fill, as a replacement for Lauren Bacall in the musical Woman of the Year.
It was nearly 2 years before reprieve came in the form of an unexpected offer to replace Lauren Bacall in the hit Broadway musical Woman of the Year.
In 1982, she stood in for 2 weeks for Lauren Bacall in the Broadway production of Woman of the Year.
This opportunity suddenly came out of nowhere. It was almost like fate. Would I like to come in and replace Lauren Bacall in Woman of the Year?
Woman of the Year was one of the hottest shows on Broadway, starring one of the biggest names in film history, the legendary Lauren Bacall. Though worried that New York critics might not embrace her after Bacall's Tony-winning performance, Raquel was ready to try.
I think that was a very daunting thing at first. I don't think most people realized how she had to rework that in a very short time. She had to really do all the rehearsals within 2 weeks. That's what makes it kind of all the more miraculous.
Well, you are at a position now. You have your own production company. Where do you see yourself going, huh?
I have to be just right here, right now.
You do
looking forward to this play. I'm half in this character already, so I'm out to lunch on this side, you know. I mean, I'm Tess Harding someplace doing those songs and doing that dialogue. And it's hard for me to shift gears now back to reality in a sense. But I love this thing. I love it. It's so fun. It's like consuming, you know. I mean, it's like a big siren, you know. And the play, I just keep going into it and into it. And it's like when I'm not rehearsing, I'm really not happy right now, because I'm having a good time with it, and I really like it. I walked in rehearsal. I had the best time of my life, and it gave me the legitimacy that I've been searching for so many years.
Want me to take it?
I think you should take it.
Was right.
That's right.
I was perfectly right.
Right.
My instincts were valid and strong. That's right.
The creators of the show, songwriters Fred Ebb and John Kander, and scriptwriter Peter Stone, had written a plot around a celebrity television personality who tries to work out the conflicts between her love life and her job.
Ooh, I had to go to New York, and Larry would be hammering editing newspaper in Colorado somewhere on the side for a break. I can't.
Kander and Ebb even gave Raquel a song to introduce into the show, a ballad called Who Would Have Dreamed, helping her work on the shadings in her interpretation.
Perfect as it seems.
Who'd have? He's just real easy. Perfect
as it seems.
little girl.
Would have never.
Raquel once joked that it took more guts than brains to try the Broadway show. But when it all comes down to her work, she has a reserve of confidence and discipline, reinforced by the strenuous yoga exercises she practices each day. shutting off the rest of the world, keeping herself in shape.
Tomorrow night, Raquel Welch makes her debut on Broadway. She'll be replacing Lauren Bacall for 2 weeks in the musical Woman of the Year. Joan went to a rehearsal with Raquel recently, and Raquel shared with Joan some of her thoughts about what this debut means to her.
I guess every actress dreams of coming to Broadway, and this is it, your first time. How does it feel?
Well, I think the best thing is that the people are facing the stage. You know, I'm play Vegas a lot, and this sounds funny, but most of the time they're looking over their shoulder like this, you know. And these people, you know, in the theater in New York are facing the stage, and they're not out to get you.
Are you a little bit nervous?
I don't identify it as fear, but there's like this thing that comes and all of a sudden I have no spit. Is that what you mean by, yeah?
That's what I mean.
Hey, adjust. That was the adjustment. You adjusted beautifully. Let's make this.
It's been a long transition for the star of films like 1 Million Years BC, Kansas City Bomber, and Mother, Jugs, and Speed, from Hollywood's reigning sex symbol to a performer who seemed right at home in a chorus line. When she finally took the stage in the show, she got the best reviews of her career in a place where there were no retakes.
We have a picture of you in rehearsal. In rehearsal clothes? Is this what?
Rehearsal clothes?
This was getting ready to, my goodness.
Oh, that's when I was rehearsing. I've got a little hat on because there's a number in the show which is called One of the Girls Who's One of the Boys, and at one point she puts on a hat.
How could you ever be one of the boys?
Oh, you know.
Yes?
I know it sounds totally Pollyanna, but today was one of the days where I had everybody here because, you know, all the dancers and things are doing the show, so they can't rehearse with me all the time. And when I get them and they all come around me and we get in that line, and we do la-da-da-da-da-da. Who's one of the guys? So put up your dukes and I'll blacken your eyes. Behind all the Gucci, the Poochie and Foyle, I'm one of the boys, I'm one of the guys.
Good luck tomorrow night, Raquel.
One snowy evening in December 1981, Raquel stepped out onto the Broadway stage and faced one of the most discerning audiences in the world.
So the curtain goes up and I'm standing there in this gold dress and I haven't even got my mouth open. And suddenly all these people just stood up. And I was so amazed, you know. I mean, it was one of those times when I really felt like I was washed over, like Vietnam, you know, by this big, huge emotion, like, whew. And I was so overcome with emotion I couldn't even sing because it was all teary-eyed and everything. But I thought, I haven't done anything.
It was a tough Broadway world where there were no retakes. But she astounded critics and got uniformly good reviews for her performance.
And the curtain came up and I couldn't believe it. Do this.
Well, that still affects you emotionally, just to think about, because of the time. Sure.
Yeah, sorry.
Was it because of the time in your life that it came, or?
You know, I don't know if I can analyze this one, especially right now when I'm kind of emotionally charged up. I don't think that I ever realized in my life, because I hadn't been enough in front of live audiences, I didn't know that the audience out there, not the industry, but the audience out there, they liked what I did. You know, I sound like Sally Fields now, oh geez. But I mean, they were ready, they were receptive. I didn't sing a note. They were up. And I said, oh. So everything that I did, everything that I did up to this point was not just garbage. Somehow I got through to people.
Overnight, Raquel Welch went from Hollywood to Broadway triumph.
It legitimized my career. It gave me, once and for all, a kind of self-confidence that I had been missing all that time. You know, I mean, it's tiring to all the time prove yourself over and over again. And I think what happened with Woman of the Year is suddenly I stopped all of that.
But it wasn't until she opened on Broadway in 1982, replacing Lauren Bacall in Woman of the Year, that critics found an entertainer inside the body.
Raquel Welch made the part her own, and once skeptical critics responded with unanimous praise. Ticket sales soared, and Raquel was besieged by enthusiastic fans outside the theater each night.
I think it was a very warm, happy time for her because she was being received by the public. She was working with people that were authentic, that really appreciated her.
Both the public and the critics went wild over her performance. 6 months later, she took over the role and became the toast of the town, breaking box office records.
And a hit Broadway run in Woman of the Year. Not bad for someone who started out as a weather girl in San Diego.
Really stood out that my mom had changed a lot, that there wasn't anything that was going to kind of get in her way ever again.
Along with her confidence, Raquel's 2-week run grew into 6 months of sold-out performances.
The proof of the pudding is that in these 2 weeks, Raquel scored so strongly that she is going to be going back into Woman of the Year this summer for 6 months.
Yeah, 6 months.
This is so rare in the history of Broadway to do something like this. As a matter of fact, June the 29th, she'll open there. So if you're going to New York for the summer, you must see Woman of the Year with Raquel Welch for 6 months.
Yeah, for 6 months.
8 shows a week. That's going to tie you up totally. Your husband is going with you?
Yeah, it doesn't tie you up. I mean, it's, you know, I mean, they pay well.
For all the hard work she's put into the show, the benefits aren't bad either. She's earning around $90,000 a month, and she's overcome some of the disadvantages of being viewed as a sex symbol.
I always thought that this was a pretty nice thing, being a sex symbol. I always thought that it was meant to be something kind of terrific. I just was not aware of quite what went with the territory as far as the downside of it, you know, the skepticism of other people and the fact that they could try to make a joke out of you and things and make sort of cruel asides and try to diminish whatever else it was that you did.
Your Broadway debut, it must have been a real milestone. Even with all the things you've done, that was a biggie.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you know, it's like the Big Megillah. I mean, it's like, can you cut the mustard in the big time in the Great White Way? And
some people doubted, maybe, saying, here comes this film star, right?
Well, maybe they doubted. I have to say that in all reality, I felt there was you know, this tremendous sort of enthusiasm on the streets of New York. While I was in rehearsals, people would sort of come up to me and say, go get him, Rocky, you know, and see you on Broadway, Rocky. And I mean, they were very familiar with me and very warm, and I kind of thought, well, you know, it can't be that bad if they're looking forward to me being on the stage. That means that I'm playing to people who are enthusiastic and warm, and that means a lot.
The truth is that she went into the show, standing ovations, critical acclaim. We're going to hear more about it. Woman of the Year.
I think she's great in musical comedy. That was a very good part for her. And she looked marvelous. Who could look like that? Oh, my God.
She's arrived on Broadway. Raquel Welch is the Woman of the Year.
I love it.
Woman of the Year! We now to Tess Harding. Sound Craig, wherever you are, listen, you son of a bitch, listen to that. Since gracious, well, public figure, we've admired for so Sound Craig, wherever you are, you arrogant, guilty, prudish, sensitive, chauvinist son of a bitch, listen to that. Her vast achievements in the many fields of her endeavor. Starlight Sammy, all my Sammy, and you can't live it, your well-known whammy. Loving me, consisting of Miss Maud Vickers, Miss Kate Johnson, and Miss Vi Langford, who unanimous in their choice of this year's celebrated winner. The ladies are singing my praises, led by the chairman who tell. I'm not gonna listen to you, Sam. Why should I listen to you, Sam, when I can listen to them? Speak up, girls, speak up, don't be shy. Speak up, what a charge, Kate, in the atmosphere, $50 a plate for the woman of the year. Or keep the days clear while they all applaud for the woman of the year. She's charming, she's attractive, she's gifted. I younger than you thought she was too. She's never had a single thing she did. She's a cunning little devil, and tonight she'll give the devil. Shy by when she does appear. Give a pinkish smile, let her know you're here. Let your foot stamp for the new child, who's the woman of the year. She's Quiz Dixon, strange man Dixon. She's Ned Brezhnev, top nut Brezhnev. She slept at Buckingham Palace. Saw the scholar walk out like Alice. Took tea with Gertrude and others. And if you knew me like she knew me, oh, she's a pioneer. She's the pussycat that we're here to cheer. She's the big chief. Will you rise to lead? As we honor her career in contemporary life, and the fighter, and the leader, and the wife. And someday, wherever you are, though you think I'm a sham, pick your power to sound and go stop it in ground. 'Cause goddammit, I am the woman
This is Tess Harding telling all you wonderful people out there in television land my personal private business, because you're all going to love, cherish, and honor me for it. This is Tess Harding giving all you early worms the bird. Look at God, Jackie! You're ever going to talk that cup of tea? Not going to talk that cup of tea!
You wouldn't dare!
I love you, Tess. Did you get me that time? Tess Harding Crane.
Cut your eyes.
How long you been drinking bourbon straight?
Oh, 10, maybe 12 seconds.
May I have your attention, please? By the power vested in me by the Inkpot Saloon, I hereby call Tess Harding, occasionally known as Tessie Cat. For the scourge of all mankind, as a newly elected member of the good old lives, and welcome to the club. Come, men, this
applause, applause.
And if, when she was younger, her work made her a kind of unwilling straight woman for other people's jokes, she can afford to play it for laughs now.
That's wonderful.
What's so wonderful?
In rehearsals, Raquel paid careful attention to comic expressions and timing in a duet with Broadway veteran Marilyn Cooper.
So wonderful, you can hold a husband. That's wonderful. Be sensitive to what's going on there, David. You're just running along, you know, that's a heavy line there. Okay? Okay. All right, just beware, okay. Wait a minute, we better do that again. That was a real train wreck there.
The song is the show-stopping number in Woman of the Year, called The Grass is Always Greener, about the contrast in lifestyles between a homemaker and the superstar played by Raquel. And the irony behind the lyrics is never lost on the audience.
There was something about just being there in flesh and blood with the audience there, and I suddenly realized that people were not out to get me.
Woman of the Year won 4 Tonys, including another for Candor and Ebb. It was about a television newscaster who wasn't doing so well in her personal life. As she did on Broadway, Raquel Welch plays a newscaster, and here she asks advice of her former husband's current wife, played by Marilyn Cooper, who won a Tony for this performance.
I remember loving one particular number in a show called Woman of the Year. It involves 2 women. One of them, Tess Harding, is a world-renowned TV anchorwoman who knows all the movers and shakers. Yet she needs some advice, and she turns for it to the wife of her ex-husband. Ladies and gentlemen, the stars of that show, Miss Raquel Welch and Miss Marilyn Cooper.
It occurs to me that the most happily married man I know is my ex-husband. Well, you're the one who made him happy. Tell me, how did you do that?
What can I tell you, for God's sakes? You're the most famous woman in the world. You know everything.
Yeah, that's all I know. I can't do anything. Look at you. You can do everything.
Oh, sure. Everything that's trivial. I've never done anything really important with my life the way you have. I'll bet your friends are all celebrities. That's wonderful.
What's so wonderful? You can make a pot roast. That's wonderful.
I'll bet your friends are all celebrities. That's wonderful.
What's so wonderful? You can make a pot roast. That's wonderful.
What's so wonderful? First you brown an onion. What's so wonderful? First you brown an onion. Is you picture up its sardines. That's wonderful.
What's so wonderful? You can clean an oven. That's wonderful.
What's so wonderful? First you get the easy offer.
The grass is always greener on somebody else's estate. The meat is always leaner on somebody else's dinner plate. But you can sew a button on. That's wonderful.
What's so wonderful? Bet you go to discos. That's wonderful.
What's so wonderful? First you pop a Valium. I can see you planning picnics. That's wonderful.
What's so wonderful? Eating at the White House.
jogging to McDonald's.
The grass is always greener on somebody else's front lawn. Oh, somebody else's wiener always has a lot more relish on. You save the whales in Newfoundland, that's wonderful.
What's so wonderful? You can run a household. That's wonderful.
What's so wonderful? First you have a breakdown. You're always in the magazines. That's wonderful.
What's so wonderful? You can hold a husband. That's wonderful.
You're always in the magazines. That's wonderful.
What's so wonderful? You can hold a husband. That's wonderful.
What's so wonderful? There's more to life than husbands.
I could use a husband.
You can have my husband.
I've already had your husband.
What's so wonderful? There's more to life than husbands.
I could use a husband.
You can have my husband.
I've already had your husband. Makes me kinda teary. Think about it, dearie. The grass is always greener. In someone else's yard. It's hard.
I'll bet you always ride in limousines. That's wonderful.
What's so wonderful? You've got time for luncheons. That's wonderful.
What's so wonderful? First you sell the Tupperware. The public wants your autograph. That's wonderful. The public wants your autograph. That's wonderful.
What's so wonderful? You raised a teenage daughter. That's wonderful. What's so wonderful? You raised a teenage daughter. That's wonderful.
What's so wonderful? First you find her diaphragm. Oh, the grass is always greener where some other tenant pays rent. Oh, the teeth are always cleaner in somebody else's Polydent. The grass is always greener where some other tenant pays rent. Oh, the teeth are always cleaner in somebody else's Polydent.
But you know who your neighbors are. That's wonderful.
That's so wonderful. You know Barbara Walters. That's wonderful.
What's so wonderful? Bring along your hanky. Bet you squeeze the Charmin off. That's wonderful.
What's so wonderful? You can make a headline. That's wonderful.
What's so wonderful? I'd rather make a pot roast.
So go and ground an onion.
And have some peace and quiet.
You've already had my husband.
Everyone's a victim of this ducky little dictum. The grass is always greener.
Oh, makes you kinda teary. Think about it, dearie. The grass is always greener in someone
And when the number was over on opening night, Raquel got to hear a request you hardly ever hear on a movie set. Someone in the audience yelled for more.
Jeff! Wish we had.
As much as she dislikes the idea of habitually having to prove herself, what the New York Theater District became for Raquel was another proving ground, far different from the one she first learned to deal with. The children who helped give her a protective attitude about herself when she was starting out are both grown now. Her son Damon is 22, and her daughter Tawny is 20. She is developing other film projects with her husband Andre. But she seems happy with the fact that working on the stage has finally provided a different focus on her career and made the years of transition more graceful than they might have been.
But no, really, to you guys, here's to having a lot of fun out there, okay? Let's have a good time.
We leave the door of the dressing room.
I don't want to go in my bugle beaded dress either, you know. I don't want to be one of those diehards, you know, where they keep turning up to have a look at you and see if you're still stuck together all right. And so, yes, the fact that I could deliver in an area where nobody knew I could made me the winner. I just felt great. I'd made it. Isn't that funny?
The people who jam the sidewalks outside Raquel's stage door each night, where she makes the short walk to a limousine hidden behind a curtain of fans, represent the intense curiosity that's also part of the territory.
Thank you for smiling at least.
They wonder what you'll be like in real life. Will you be as good looking? Will your voice sound the same? Will you be able to really be charming and exciting as you are? They wonder if you can live up to it.
All the onlookers who got a glimpse of Raquel at this party following her Broadway opening found that she is a little smaller than most of her film roles have made her appear. She stands around 5 feet 6 inches tall, but she says she never weighs herself or takes her measurements because the figures can change and they don't mean much aesthetically. There have been thousands of others with similar sizes and shapes who haven't lasted as long or protected themselves as well as Raquel Welch.
She's also getting on with her life. Welch and her husband, Andre Weinfeld, the man who directed her videos, are about to call it quits.
I've talked to so many people who downplay the effects of a high-profile two-career marriage.
Yeah.
That it doesn't bother a marriage.
In my particular case, if I can say this without sounding crass, I think the marriage failed, but the relationship won. And I don't feel that our separation and the eventual dissolving of the marriage is a failure. I feel that we had 12 fantastic years together. I can look back at them and say that we had joy and fun and love and fought together and did so many things that I wouldn't change.
So how was she to work with? I guess people thought she was difficult at times?
Well, Raquel can be difficult because she knows who Raquel is, and she doesn't like to stray from that character when she has to do it publicly. She wants to give you Raquel. So if you don't understand that, you're going to have trouble. If you want her to do something else, and it's not, do I make sense, you know? Mm-hmm. She is that woman. Her audience likes Raquel. She has to come out with the big boobs and the tight dress and her hair and makeup perfectly. And she has to be a little risque and a little funny and be that. And that's what sells. And that she packed the houses in New York being Raquel. And she knows who that character is. The makeup man can start her makeup, but then she does it herself. She finishes and touches. She knows what that package is. And rightfully so, because that's Raquel. That's right. So if you understand that about her, you're fine.
Right.
Obviously I did, because we got on famously and dined together and talked to each other. We're still talking to each other.
Needless to say, the sex symbol has come a long way. A few years ago, Hollywood's leading body beautiful broke Broadway box office records with her one-woman show.
You're most attractive to look at, but I certainly enjoy your voice. It's lovely to hear.
Thank you.
Did you did you have a lot of speech training?
I did have some speech training. I of course studied when I was studying to be an actress as a kid in school, and then yet again when I went to Hollywood, I studied with what they call a dialogue coach, and learn to speak properly, enunciate my words, and then I also have studied for years and years and years. I studied singing, which did me well when I went to Broadway, because nobody really knew about that yet, I guess. And but any kind of vocal training, singing, always helps your voice and helps your placement, and also exercise helps the placement of your voice if it's the right kind of exercise that gives you a better capacity.
6 days a week you work.
Yes. You know what happens in the movies? You work 6 days a week and you get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. It's a 14-hour day. I mean, this way, it's actually easier,
days off.
And in a sense, it's easier.
Now, when you make a motion picture, it takes, you sit in that chair that says Raquel Welch on the back, and you run up and do something, then you go sit for hours, right? On Broadway, boom, you do it, and you hit them all at once.
But, yeah. It's kind of easier. Right. It's kind of easier for a funny kind of reason because of that, because it's immediate. I mean, you go out and you do your whole thing for a couple of hours, and you know whether you flopped or not right away, you know.
Opening
you don't have
night,
to wait 6 months or a year until the movie comes out, and then you read a few reviews and they tell you the grosses, and you don't know, did it work or didn't it? I mean, you don't actually see the people, what their reaction was to it, so that's makes it different.
Were you nervous opening night?
Oh, I was so excited. I was not really nervous. I mean, I'm usually kind of slightly nauseous before I go on. And sometimes I want to faint or lie down or just leave town right before I go on. But in this occasion, I couldn't wait to get out there, you know. I mean, it was really one of those situations where I was so exhilarated by thinking that I was going to play Broadway. I hate to sound like a Pollyanna, but I was excited about it. It's in a great American tradition. It's the basis for all of our theater arts here, and it means a lot to an actress.
I would think you'd be especially nervous coming from film. Major film stars have gone to Broadway, and the critics have been especially hard on them because they say, well, can she really stand on her own 2 feet and do that? But the critics welcomed you with open arms, didn't they?
Well, I was fortunate enough to get good reviews because I didn't count on that. You know, I thought maybe the people might clap a little bit, but I wasn't sure I was going to get really good critical reviews. But I think that there's a kind of suspicion on the part of most people that a movie actress is kind of put together with spit, you know, and when you actually see them in person, they're really not they can't really cut it, you know, they can't really cut the mustard, they can't really carry a show, they don't have all those abilities. They really need the background music, the editing, and all the special effects to make them come off. And so there is that thing that I was worried about the critics, but I figured I was only playing for 2 weeks. I'd get my feet wet, and they couldn't close me anyway because I was closing in 2 weeks.
Did it go smoothly opening night? No mishaps at all?
Oh, my God. There were a lot of mishaps, actually. But they were fun, you know. It was one of those things when something unexpected happens and people feel like they're in on something personal. I mean, I had this body mic, and it was difficult to know where to put it. It was a little strange because it started out on the inside of my right thigh, and then it moved over to the underside of my right arm.
You have to understand, that's not where the mic goes. It's not. There's a battery pack. I mean, you wouldn't mic your thigh. It's not going to do a lot of talking. But the battery...
Oh, I don't know.
But actually, your whole body talks pretty good, I think. But the battery pack, they would put... Right.
That's right. It's the battery pack. I mean...
And where'd they put the mic?
Well, they would just tape it different places. Yeah, they would tape it. Yeah. But the thing was, the sound engineer, who happened to be a woman, said to me, Raquel, you're perfect as long as you don't cross your legs. So I thought, well, you know, I got a little excited. In the second scene, I crossed my legs, and all of a sudden, the sound cut off. And I thought, what, you know? So I went, oh, well, they're still there, but I don't know what happened to the mic, you know? And there were funny things like that happened, but it was people were, you know, they enjoyed being in on it. I don't know, there were all kinds of strange things. What else happened?
Tell me about that first night on Broadway, Woman of the Year, when you were taking Bacall's place. I want to know all the behind-the-scenes stuff. First of all, if she really was as upset as we had read about after you got all the rave reviews.
Oh, you want the dirt?
I want the good stuff.
Oh, no, I can't.
Just say this, on a scale of 1 to 5, how unhappy was she about the rave reviews you were getting?
I don't think she was very pleased. That's what I heard.
That's what you heard.
But that didn't matter. That didn't. All I can tell you is that my mind was not on Bacall that night or anything like that. All I know is it was the most beautiful moment that when people ask you that question, what's the best time that you ever had in your life, and you have to think, I don't have to think anymore. It was the most wonderful thing. I mean, just like when you dream as a kid, that something wonderful is going to happen, and you're going to feel like bells go off and that you just feel a rush. Well, that was really the very, very first time as an actress that I ever felt that. It was on my opening night when I got a standing ovation, and when people just, you know, they were just fabulous to me, and I'll never forget it.
Did you cry?
Oh, couldn't stop. It was just embarrassing.
Buckets, huh?
Well, I just, you know, I was so overcome, you know. I was always, wait a minute, wait, just stop, you know, and this kind of thing. It was really kind of silly.
So what did you do when you went home to celebrate that night?
Well, we went to a big party.
Yeah.
We went to a big party, and everybody crashed the party. It was just crazy. I mean, it was like a veto.
Who was there?
or
Who was there?
something.
Who was there?
I don't remember. Just everybody in New York City, and just everybody was dancing, and it was just a very great, fantastic time.
Now, how long did it take you to kind of come down from that? When you went on stage the next, well, there were standing ovations every night. People were like in the aisles.
Oh, that's very nice of you to say that, and it was something I didn't really come down from, because it went on. I came back into the show for 6 months, and it was just kind of a tremendous high all the time I was there. And it was kind of nice for me. Well, kind of nice. It was fabulous for me, because I had been doing concert tours and doing nightclub, you know, engagements in Vegas for about, something like 10 years, and nobody really knew I could sing and dance and do musical comedy, and that I had certain abilities, because they were just never used in my films. And suddenly, I got a chance. It was like having the trump card, you know, it's having a really good hand, and I could never show it to anybody. And finally, I got my shot in Broadway, and everybody said, hey, yeah, you know, good for you, Rocky, and I felt great.
Oh, good for you, Rocky.
You did not really set out to be a sex symbol.
No, I didn't, but...
What was your goal? What did you want to do when you first said, okay, I'll do something in entertainment?
Well, I really thought I would be in, on Broadway in musicals, because
Which you were, very successfuli later
but
on.
I had to be 43 years old before I hit Broadway, you know.
When you did Woman of the Year a few years back, when everybody said, you know, Raquel Welch singing, come on, forget it. And the critics didn't expect you to make it. And then, wow, I mean, such a success.
Yeah.
Okay, terrific.
Yeah.
But then after that, it's as if you deliberately didn't capitalize on it. I mean, you didn't do another Broadway show. You didn't do a musical special. You didn't do another big film. You sort of let it simmer, and then you did the book.
Well, you see, at the end of Woman of the Year, I became pregnant. And I thought that I would have my baby with Andre. And it didn't happen. I had a miscarriage. And quite frankly, I didn't feel like just jumping back into the fray right away. I was a little bit, well, disappointed and a little wounded from that. And I was very, very tired from doing my 6 months on Broadway, even though it was just, as far as I'm concerned, a godsend. I mean, it was everything that I'd ever wanted.
Raquel, do you want to try to have a baby now?
No, not really. Not really. I think that, you know, sometimes great things happen. It's like the Broadway thing, for instance. Let's make a little analogy. And they happen at that time and in that space, and then they're over. And to try to repeat that success, or try to repeat that orgasm, you know, can be kind of a tricky proposition.
Now that Raquel knew her talent had been truly acknowledged, she was finally able to make peace with her image.
I realized that that still was the way that a lot of people relate to me. So instead of fighting it, somewhere along in the 80s after Woman of the Year, I realized it wasn't such a bad thing after all.
Oh, I didn't know. Is she funny? Can she do comedy? I said, what do you think I did in Woman of the Year? I mean, that was like musical comedy, you know.
They don't do their
They're
homework,
jokes, and there's this funny character that's kind of, you know. So anyway.
They get this image of you, and it's tough to break.
That was Woman of the Year.
And here's Woman of the Year right there. One of the major thrills of your life, I take it.
Oh, it was fabulous. I got so skinny during that thing, though. I was just nothing. I had no this, I had no that.
Yes, you did.
Oh, yes, you did, Raquel.
I had a front row seat for that, and you had everything.
You never lost it.
You must have caught me early on in the run.
I saw opening night, actually.
Oh, you did? Well, that was early in the run. Then later on, I got very gaunt, and I was like, sort of, they'd have to take me out of my bed with a spatula, because I was always so...
Because it was such hard work?
Oh, yeah. 8 shows a week that you would just love too much, so that, like, then I would not know how to pace myself. I would say, wow, I mean, standing room only, so you got to give it everything you've got, and then I would just, like, become a little rag doll at the end of the show, and I'd lie down in between shows on my dressing room floor, you know, and my little assistant would come and say, can I get you anything? Yeah. What have you got? And I'd say, rice.
Rice.
Seaweed. You know? Things that I couldn't eat anything. It was just crazy things that actresses, what they eat when they're performing is like nobody's business, because I never have any spit, so I don't never know what I want to eat. You know, when I get nervous and I don't have enough spit to swallow, so I can't think of anything that I really want to eat.
Nothing sounds appetizing.
No, so it's like rice and seaweed and strange things like that.
So you lost a lot of weight.
Yeah. I lost a lot of weight.
Well, you put it back on, okay?
No, but it was a wonderful experience. It's a dream come true.
Would you like to do that again?
Oh, I'd love to go back on Broadway. I'd do a musical, I'd do a straight play, I'd do an ensemble piece, or just a plain comedy without the music, you know? It'd be great fun. I mean, I really should do it, because it's been too long now, and I miss it very much.
Well, maybe somebody's listening.
The main thrust of my work and the body of work that I've done, I think, is light entertainment, you know. And I think that it is the kind of thing that Woody Allen said, you know, when you do more of this kind of entertainment material, people don't let you sit with the grown-ups, you know. They don't let you eat at the adult table. They always sort of pat you on the head and say, oh, well, yeah, you know, it's okay. You know, but it's not really, you know, it doesn't have any real substance to it, you know. It's not really deep. And these people, these kind of girls or these kind of women are not really actresses, you know. They're kind of just sort of stars.
Exactly. So
and we know what that's all about, don't we?
Well, I guess the poetry reading is going to be off for later on in the show.
I guess
with you, I suppose. I hate all of that stuff.
No, but it was just, I think, a reaction against the idea that if you have a certain image, you always seem to have to say how serious you are about the work, you know, and how you're going to try to change that image. And I
like
guess
you're apologizing for your success.
A little bit like you are not, you know, that you should react against that. I guess I've said all of this, just the 2 sentences before, but...
That's perfect. We're just reinstating. I want to ask you about, you took over for Lauren Bacall on Woman of the Year. And
on Broadway,
I think we could say you kicked butt, basically. Yeah, definitely. Why haven't you done another Broadway thing? Would you like to?
Well, I would really like to, but, you know, there aren't that many new Broadway plays, quite frankly. I mean, I think that probably the only recent candidate that I could probably do is Kiss of the Spider Woman or something like that, that I could have fun with. And I get offered things, but I mean, like the weirdest thing you can possibly imagine, like some kind of Mary Poppins character, and I go, but why? You know, why would I play an English nanny? You know, and
well, I'll tell you, the kids would be happy as hell, especially the young boys. Let me tell you, Raquel Welch is my nanny.
But you know, it's these kind of strange things, and so it's just it's the same old, same old. You're looking for a really good part, and they're very few and far between. And then the other thing is that you like to do stuff that's contemporary, that has some kind of resonance about what's really happening today, instead of South Pacific. I mean, you know, am I really going to run around, you know, and go, I'm going to wash that man right out of my hair? You know, I mean, it's like a little bit dated. And
with a Brooklyn accent, too. Well, you know what?
I guess that's the dilemma. Well, I had done the musical on Broadway, as you may recall. I don't know if anybody in this country knows that I did Woman of the Year, which was a musical based on the movie with Spencer Tracy and Katharine Hepburn called Woman of the Year. And so I did that musical, and it was a big success, and it kind of gave me confidence, you know, to go further with my theater career.
And maybe it won't be in the too distant future when we see you in a musical, dancing and singing on the big screen. How about that?
Well,
thank you.
Perhaps.
Good luck and thank you.
And then you also have another movie, The Wild Party.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that a serious role, or?
Well, I don't know if you can
more than two
make
lines?
serious, you know,
Right.
and I try not to telegraph any great big import about every film I do, because I just do them as an actress because I dig the role, I like the script to begin with. But it's a 1929 sort of movie starlet in the age of the silent film, and it's got a lot of music in it. It's almost like an old-fashioned musical where the music is incidental to it rather than really being Shazam epic musical, you know. None of that. So, but it's cute, you know. It's really a nice film.
What about searching for that next step?
Well, I'm
Soon
not
you do it
there
on
yet.
Broadway, but do a great movie.
That would be great, wouldn't it? Be nice.
Do you think you have it in you?
Oh, absolutely.
Where has it been?
Where has it been? Blooming.
Raquel Welch, thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
1977 saw the reuniting of Kander and Ebb and Liza Minnelli. They wrote a musical for her about a film star making her comeback in a Las Vegas act. Now, the show was called The Act, and tonight Raquel Welch will perform the second act showstopper, City Lights.
Love those city lights, those sparkling city lights, those twinkling city lights, blurring my eyes. Walking lanes to pick a daisy that could drive a person crazy. Homemade bread lays here like lead, and Polly's peach preserves. Oh, please, my nerves. City